morning.
Good evening.
We'll get started here with number 661. We'll go through it twice.
Genesis. C part of the Bible means origin or beginning. It proves the rest of the Bible. It's hated by the devil. Now you say, well, we've been over this. Well, first grade is a rehash of kindergarten. And second grade is a rehash of first grade. Third grade is a rehash of second grade. That's just standard fare, folks. Repetition. Genesis, the book of first mentions. I think we brought up it's where the word come begins. Come into the ark. You know, that's like the first word. And there's words that are like that. You know. Begins with God and ends with a coffin. And we discussed how many years until that coffin came out. 400. I think technically it's 430. I think you can find both numbers. And it says unto the fourth generation. That's where you get generation of one of the many types of generations. That generation can be up to 100 years. Genesis is the warp and woof of the Bible. We discussed that. And we were talking about the weave and why water won't go through cloth today and so on. We talked about those are just carnal things. Moses, the author of the Pentateuch, we looked that up and he received it at the hand of angels. First 5 books of the Bible is called the Pentateuch. Penta meaning 5. Book of first mentions, and we named off a bunch of those. It disproves, I think this is about where we ended, isn't it? I think I wrote it down where we, oh yeah. The start. It disproves atheism, no belief in God. Anybody ever meet an atheist? I think I met a woman once on visitation. You met an atheist. And then why are there no atheists, or where are there no atheists?
In the foxhole.
In a foxhole. There are no atheists ever found in a foxhole. Right? Because they're soon to meet their maker and they know it. All right. That's a joke, right? Agnostic, no knowledge of God. Polytheism, many gods. What would be a polytheist? Okay, the Greeks and the Romans, modern day polytheists. Hindus, they have millions of gods. Any others?
People read modern Bibles.
Oh, well, Hindus, not Muslims. What's the other group? A Buddhist. What is a Buddhist?
Buddhists, they have all of those.
They have a lot of gods?
Yeah. Shinto, that's Japanese, they honor the ancient ancestors and all that stuff.
Okay, Shinto, Mormonism? You are a god. You become a god.
That's the goal.
Pardon?
That's the goal, become a god,
You become a god.
populate your own planet. Weirdness.
You become a god. That's almost like a Hindu, and what system is that called?
It's a caste, isn't it?
A caste system, yeah. You reincarnated into something better and better until you finally hit the goal.
Yeah, you're in your caste and you have a very hard time climbing out.
And you have your time climbing out. Pantheism, God is everything and everything is God. I know somebody that they'll literally argue with me. I'm done arguing with them. And you say, well, you shouldn't be done arguing with them. Well, I'll let my family argue with him. He'll go as far as to say, who's to say that this isn't God? I grew up with a guy. Who's to say God's not in this chair, or God's not the chair there? And on it goes. And he went to that Baptist church in town, the American Baptist. Yeah. Just because you go to a Baptist church doesn't mean you're saved. Secular humanism. Who would be secular humanists in our society today? Other than all of America. Technically, I guess. The bulk of them. Teachers. Yeah, I would have to say the education system.
Academia.
Academia. Man will have self-fulfillment apart from God. Yeah, you can't mention God there. And this is coming down the pipe. I heard it on, I don't know if it was on the Rush Limbaugh or 1100, one of those programs, a talk show, that they are moving in a couple states right now. You want to homeschool? All right, homeschoolers, we'll go along with you. But you're using the state curriculum. And they're going to force that. And now how they're going to force it. Pardon? They are, yeah. It's free. That's a big attraction. Freebie. And I mean, who doesn't want free, right? If you were given the Stradivarius for free, and who's the pan-faced comedian in The Silence?
Oh, Keaton.
Buster Keaton in the movie, he falls down and smashes it. What does the insurance company pay you?
$1.98.
Probably not even, you got it for free, that's what we paid. Yeah. I don't know how they think. But it's free. This curriculum is going to be free. And, oh, I know. Well, we're paying for it. We're paying for it now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's public school. Yeah, public school online. Then where everybody's going to become, what's his name up in the cabin in Idaho? Rick's going to move someplace. We don't have to move. We're not, we don't have kids that are, anyway, evolution, process of development. In theoevolutionism, God created life and life evolved into its present form. Who's a theoevolutionist? The Pope. Now, I don't know if the present Pope is. Anybody hear him actually make that statement?
Who listens to him here?
Yeah, you know what? after 25 or you're say 30 years or so, and you've been in a Baptist church for 40 years, you get cut off from a lot of things that are going on out there and that are shocking. Just literally shocking. But that was it was on Paul Harvey. You know, he was still alive. I was hearing him on at noon. And that's when I discovered that the Pope is a theo-evolutionist. Is that God created the amoeba, or he made the blob. And it's not a movie. The blob. What do you call that? He makes the primeval mass.
Primordial soup.
The soup. He made the soup, and then the soup got cooked. I don't know, man. You got to be out there to believe that stuff. I mean, any little child can figure it out. Evolution, process of development. There's still a lot of people that believe that. Now, what has been disproven that's still in the textbooks today? What the chain? It's in one of the movies. It's in one of the Kent Hovind movies. They show a chain of animals. What is the particular animal? It's the horse. Is that evolved, and that has been disproven. Peking man. What was Peking man has been disproven. Anybody know what this? Pardon? No, I think that's Nebraska. It's a pig's tooth, and that's in Nebraska. And that's been disproven, that it's a pig's tooth. And Peking man, I'm pretty sure, you'd have to listen to the Kent Hovind tapes. Peking man, they found a cave with all these monkey bones in it. Well, the conclusion by the evolutionists, this is all evolved into what we are today. But all it is this, that there were cavemen back there that just like to eat monkeys. That's what that is. They like to eat monkeys. And now they've evolved into eating bats, right? Now we can eat bats.
Yum.
Yum.
The purpose of evolution is to get people from believing the Bible. They're not interested in scientific accuracy.
Absolutely right. Is to destroy the faith in the Bible and God. You're right. That's the ultimate.
Anybody's ideas in evolution is just fine with them.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to say about that. I can't recall what it is. Explain dinosaurs then. Explain away dinosaurs. How do some scientists explain away dinosaurs?
Meteorite.
Say that again?
Meteorite crashed into the earth and messed up the atmosphere.
Well, let's see.
Oh, you mean the aquarium? Yeah, but the terrarium was destroyed at the flood. They have found woolly bears with food in their stomach at the North Pole. I think they found fruit trees with fruit on it at the North Pole.
But the thing about it is, they don't want to have man and dinosaurs in the same era.
Right, but they do have footprints within the footprint of the dinosaur. They do have that.
And what I said actually is true, that God broke the terrarium, and the atmospheric pressure was much greater than it is now, and the dinosaurs were built to breathe under heavy atmospheric pressure because they got a big long nose and nostril thing, and after the Noah's flood, it got lesser. The dinosaurs had to breathe in harder. They couldn't get enough air into them, so they got smaller. We still have dinosaurs.
And we still have dinosaurs today.
Yeah,
I
little
guess
salamanders.
you could go that far. And then the thing is that there wasn't enough plant life to support it. They finally died out.
And that's
Well,
what
then how did they get through the Noah's Ark? How did they make it?
babies.
What's the logical answer to that?
They got babies on there.
Instead of having a 150-ton brontosaurus get on board, they just had the newborn. Right? They had
That's what Ken Owen said.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, somebody, until I was told that, I didn't figure that out on my own.
Yeah.
And that's in one of those Ken Hovind tapes. They just have a little one get on board. A little guy and a little gal.
Right.
Not a liberal guy and a liberal gal. A little guy. Yeah.
That would be a liberal guy, a liberal guy.
Oh, yeah, we don't want that, no. Yeah.
Hold it, time out.
No fairies on board.
Okay, so a theo-evolutionist is the Pope. There are people that believe in that a lot. You know, they kind of hedge. They want to have the best of, even though it's not the best of both worlds. They want the best of both worlds. So they don't want to be disbanded from the evolutionists, but they don't want to be discounted by God either. So they kind of combine the two. Secular humanism, we just get rid of God altogether. Pantheism and polytheism is where you get all this weird religion from. And then you got atheists and agnostics mixed in there. It's a hodgepodge. And 90-some% of all these people are, well, all those people, they're all going to hell. They're all going there. All right, now the timeline. Genesis 1 through Genesis 11 covers 2,000 years of historical time. 2,000 years. So when was Adam born? According to, we use the Gregorian calendar. Is that what we use? The Gregorian, it's called the Gregorian calendar. When was Adam born on that calendar? Is it the Gregorian calendar? Julian? See, I don't remember. We're going back now 50, 58 years, you know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's unimportant. We have a calendar. And these guys are pretty smart. These guys had figured all this out. So when then is Adam born? What year?
You hear different numbers, but it's like around 9,000 BC or something like that.
No. It would be 4,004 years.
Like I said, you hear different numbers.
Yeah, because the number, they say that the calendar's off 4 years. That 0 really is 4 BC. And so it's you know, by the calculation of the stars and how they calculate all that. It could be calculated. Is that early on the guys that figured that out 2,000 years were off a little bit. Who knows? The leap year, something. The 3 minutes. I mean, it isn't our solar year is off so many seconds. Leap year picks it up, and to make it to balance out. Anyway, it's 4,004 years ago, and then you add these 2,000 years. We'll just say 4,000 years ago. From Genesis 12 is where Abraham shows up in the migration of what's Abraham's father? We're just going off our memory. Is it Nahor?
No,
Who's Nahor?
Nahor is Abram's brother.
Oh, that's Abram's brother. Okay, that's where Abraham's father picks up. He's going to go on this journey, or Abraham does, and he's told to go to a land that I will show you, and he just takes off. That's Genesis 12. So Genesis 12, all the way through Malachi 4, covers 2,000 years. And the order of the Bible, of the Old Testament, is that the same order that the Jews use? It is not. It's not that they use different books. They have them in a different order. I forget where the order that they put them in and where that ends. It could end maybe in Chronicles or someplace where theirs ends. The other books are in there, but they have them in a different order. So Genesis 12 through Malachi 4 covers another 2,000 years. How many then silent years are there between the end of the Old Testament to the beginning of the New Testament?
400?
400 silent years where there's no, the only history you're going to find is by reading secular historians, which would be, one of them would be, Josephus is one of them. I'm sure they have others where they come up with this information. There's 400 silent years in there. Genesis 12 through Genesis 50, through the end of Genesis there, it covers a time period of 300 years. Now, we're basically, when we're doing this, we're stating just this, these are just facts. Only 2 chapters are devoted to the creation of the universe. What group, religious group, says that all of this is an allegory? What is an allegory?
Story made
A made-up story
to prove one point.
to prove another point. A made-up story to prove a point. Who believes that to be the case? Major religions. Church of Christ, I think it's the Catholic Church. They don't believe in this. They don't believe in Adam and Eve. They don't believe in the 7 days of creation. They don't believe in Noah's Ark. This is just some made-up stories. That's what they really believe. The same with Revelation, by the way. Yep, the same with Revelation, that this is some cannot be understood story that just, it's one twisted mess. And if you were a Roman Catholic, why wouldn't you want to believe in Revelation? There's a priest there's a Jesuit priest that actually makes this statement. Why would you not? Pardon?
It doesn't end good for you.
It doesn't end good for the Catholic Church. Because she becomes who? In Revelation. The whore of Babylon. Yeah. And boy, there's a priest that, yeah, if that were a true story, we're in a pretty bad situation.
They would lose control over everybody's money.
And they would lose, and you know what? They are losing control. Look at what's happened to the Boy Scouts. Oh my. Not all Boy Scouts are in that association, but they've lost control of the money. They went bankrupt because of all the sin going on in there. Oh my goodness. And that's what went on in the Catholic Church. And they are the richest organization in the world. They're the largest landowner in the world. They have more money amassed than anybody. And they are getting sued. They got their fair share of troubles. Okay, only 2 chapters are devoted to the creation of the universe. Listen, God discloses what we need to know. He tells us what we need to know. He's given us the book. We don't need to know more than that. This is what we need. Only 9 chapters are devoted to the history of early mankind. This would be from chapter 1 through chapter 11. Early mankind. Name some main characters of that early mankind. Other than Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Yeah, that's the next point. Turn the page. Other than Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Who are some other players in there? Cain and Abel. So we're going to have that in the sermon. We'll begin with Cain and Abel. That does teach a principle that holds true through the whole Bible. Cain and Abel. What are some other principal players? Oh, Noah is one. Lot is another. Boy, you guys are thinking, man, past me. Noah, Lot, huh? Esau, then, what's his brother? Jacob. It teaches that same principle there.
Mr. Amorite?
Yeah.
Mr. who?
Amorite, the Giants.
The Giants. Enoch. What is, oh, we're going to have that tonight about, we're going to preach on the end days. And I'm going to let you bring all up, how do you know about the end days? You can bring up Enoch. And if you want to go off the reservation, I might let you go off the reservation. We'll do that for 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes before we preach this. If you were to preach on the end days, where would you go?
Joel.
Boy, I didn't think of Joel. That is yeah, but we're not going to Joel. But there's only a little bit in Joel. Revelation, if you didn't go to Revelation, then what's the next obvious choice? Oh, you dirty rat. I wouldn't go to Matthew either. But yeah, but Revelation, a major place. Daniel. We're going to go to Daniel. Yeah, we'll go to Daniel. And then, way I just randomly opened it, and there was it Daniel. I started reading. I said, well, I haven't done this in a long time. So we'll preach on the end days. Folks, this is coming to an end. Yeah, probably sooner than we think. But we said that 40 years ago. And we'll bring that up too. What was I at? Oh, major players. Genesis 10. No, Noah's sons were Genesis, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's Genesis 9. Genesis 10, dividing of the nations in there. Peleg, yeah, dividing of the nations. That's when the earth was divided. And folks, any but scientists can see that and put the puzzle together. Any little child can put a puzzle together. Yeah, I was going to bring. And where did he? What was his city? Was it Babylon? Wasn't it the land of Shinar? One and the same. It's Nimrod. Nimrod is a great hunter.
That's in 11.
He's a great hunter. The assumption, what did he hunt? He hunted men. Who hunts for men?
Dog the bounty hunter.
The devil. So he's a type of the devil. And who else is hunting for men? Jesus is. He's hunting for the souls of men, right? He's fishing. He's fishing, yes. Yes. And there is a difference between hunting and fishing. All right, 39 chapters. 39 of these chapters in the Old Testament, 50 chapters, are devoted to just 4 men. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Boy, another major player in there is Pharaoh. Pharaoh is... there's major players in this Genesis. Abraham, he is, there's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of promise, Genesis 17. The God of, what was substituted in Genesis 22? The ram was substituted for the life of Isaac. It's a type of salvation. And folks, if you're going to witness the Jewish people, man, these are eye-openers for them. These are ways to, if you can actually talk to one, because usually they do all the talking. They're very bold people. But this is a way to, if you could just casually offer those kind of things. The God of salvation, and where Jacob is saved there in Genesis 32. What is Jacob's name? Help me out. Israel. So the God of salvation. How is it? I don't know if it's. I have marked down Genesis 32. How was he saved there? I believe it's Genesis 32. What sporting event is taking place?
Wrestling.
There's a wrestling match going on. And who's he wrestling with?
Christ.
He's wrestling with Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is called what there? His name, Jesus Christ doesn't show up as his name is in the Old Testament. What's he called there?
The Lord.
A man, it does say a man or an angel of the Lord? Okay, I'm wrong, I stand corrected. He may show up as the angel of the Lord. He wrestles a man. And all of that, I preached that the day that all the electricity, all the power grid went down in the eastern United States that night. We didn't have power here. I preached that in there. And he touches what? The man touches what? Jacob's thigh, the hollow of his thigh. And what did Jacob do after that? He limped on the hollow of his thigh. And they don't eat the sinew of the hollow of the thigh. That's why the Jews won't eat that. What does that teach if you're limping on that? And what happened to the hollow of the thigh? What happened to that muscle?
Withered?
It withered or it shrank? It shrank. After you are saved, then what is supposed to be shrinking? The flesh, the old nature needs to go bye-bye, and the new nature needs to be enhanced. So the old nature goes, and the new nature comes. It teaches all those things. Your old you needs to go on vacation. It needs to die. It needs to shrink. It needs to get smaller. And the new you, and that's where the name change comes in. His name is changed from Jacob to Isaac. And throughout the rest of the book, they kind of call him Jacob in some places, and they call him Israel in other places. Why would they do that?
Confuse us.
Yeah, they confuse us. Because I'll tell you, when people get saved, they still can act lost. Because your old nature raises its ugly head, and you still act like the old Rocco instead of the new Rocco. And so I'll pick it on you because you can take it. Is because sometimes you act like your old nature, and then sometimes you act like your new nature. At least that's the only reasoning I can come up with. It teaches that kind of principle.
Or we get into it.
When you give into it, you resurrect the old nature. And we do it every day. Yes.
Saul and Paul.
Saul and Paul. Oh yeah. Saul, who was not King Saul, but Saul and Paul. Sometimes they called him Saul, Brother Saul, and other times they called him Paul. And the new nature. Because we tend to baby and bring up our old ways. All right. God is, the God of promise. We didn't go there with Abraham. And I got marked off Genesis 17. Genesis 12, Abraham marches off. He's with Lot. And that story goes on. When does Abraham, as Abram, lift up the sacrifice? He lifts up a sacrifice. And he goes out and he looks at the stars, and God says, see all those stars? Your seed is going to be like those stars. I think that's Abraham. Oh, is it coming up there? I have Genesis 17, but then I think he lifts up the sacrifice in Genesis 15. And there's two lights. There's the burning lamp and the smoking furnace. Who do those represent? God the Father and God the Son. What happens to Abraham? He's knocked out because he can't take it. You and I can't take it as far as salvation. That deal had to go on between God the Father and God the Son. They pass in between the parts of the sacrifice. All right, so we can't take it. So he knocks Abraham out. He is knocked out while that takes place. All right. All right, God is the creator of time. The beginning of time is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Not heavens, plural, heaven and the earth. Revelation 10:6, the ending of time. State the verse. And time shall be no more. What kind of a chapter do we call that? It's chapter 7, chapter 10. There could be another one in there. Starts with a P. What kind of a chapter is it? Remember, this is school, folks, and this is college level. We're not doing fourth grade.
Prophetic.
A parenthetical chapter. Parenthetical. What that means is this. Here's the story, it's ongoing. By the way, how many times do they go through the story of the end of the world? 4 times. How many times do they go through the first coming of Christ? 4 times. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So it seems the reason they would go through the second coming of time of Christ 4 times. It's not a conglomeration of confusion. It starts the story over again. And it preaches it 4 times through. And so as this is going on, you go through the story and then, oh, by the way, it's kind of like intermission, or there's the overture, that's the beginning of a very long movie. And the Exodus is the end of the very long movie when you leave the theater. And then what do they call the intermission? Intermission. It's like an intermission. And God says, oh, by the way, these things are going on. Chapter 7, I think, is the sealing of the tent, 144,000. And chapter 10 is where the angel of the Lord, which is a type of Jesus Christ, with a rainbow, by the way, with a rainbow, 1 foot on the land and 1 foot on the sea, and he holds up what? What does he hold up? We call it the title deed, but it doesn't call it that. But anybody know what it's called? The little book. And what does he do with the little book? I don't think he eats it. He gives it to John, and I think he tells John to eat it. Yeah. And it was sweet and it became bitter. All right? Those are parenthetical chapters, which means, oh, by the way, this is going on, and the story starts up again. You got your popcorn, you're back in your seat, and the story starts up again. Those are parenthetical chapters. Why did I bring that up? Beginning of time, the ending, and time shall be no more. All right, the sun and the moon, that is how we tell time. It is created to tell time. Genesis chapter 1, verses 14 and 16. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. That's how time is told. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the light. He made the stars. Oh, but by the way, he made the stars also. As a matter of fact, God is that powerful, folks. The sun represents who?
Christ.
Jesus Christ. Where's that found? Boy, that's a good question. I don't know if it's Psalm or Song of Solomon. That'd be another one. It says that he cometh forth as a bridegroom out of there. All right, so it's a type of Jesus Christ. The moon represents whom? In the Bible, represents you and I, the church. Does the moon give its own light? No, it is reflected light from the sun. So we are to reflect the light of Jesus. Folks, it just, only God could write a story like this and put it all together. And the stars represent who? angels. And all of them have a different name. I represent the angels. Okay, God is the creator. And I said God is the creator. Who technically is the creator? Jesus Christ is the creator. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Colossians chapter 1, turn there, be verse 14, I believe. Colossians chapter 1. It's verse 16. But we go verses 13 through 18. Who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, hath translated. By the way, what word do we use? Because rapture is not in the Bible. Rapture is not in the Bible. By the way, where is rapture used in the Wizard of Oz? It's in the Wizard of Oz. Pardon? And who says it? When? Anybody recall? Come on, you've seen the Wizard of Oz 50 or 100 times. Who says it? The Scarecrow. When does he say it? It's when he gets his diploma. And he says, rapture. Something like that. And how does he know he's smart? Yeah, what's the mathematical formula he gets? The square root of the two sides of an equilateral triangle is equal to the sum of it is equal to the square root of the hypotenuse. Rapture. You don't remember that? Okay, well, rapture meaning
Now that you brought it up, yeah.
it's greater than great. Well, so that's what the rapture is for us. It's greater than great. And the word we use, that's the Bible word, is translated. Translated. Who hath delivered us from the power of darkness and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. In the New Bible, what has been removed? In verse 14. Through his blood is removed in the New Bibles. Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven, that are in earth, visible and invisible. Whether they be thrones or dominions or principles or powers, all things were created by him and for him. All right? And that is created by Jesus Christ. So we have redemption through his blood, and that is through Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is the great creator. He is God Almighty, Revelation chapter 1. All right? Nothing was before nor after God. We are going to pick that up here. It's 10 minutes, so we'll pick this up next week. Now, a lot of times I haven't gone to these chapters. Should I? Or should we just say we're going to memorize this stuff? We should know it. What did you say, Mrs.? You said something. Oh, we should go to it. Really? I will if we need to. And we are going to, we won't review last week's. We reviewed last week's this week. This week we'll review this, next week we'll review this week, and then maybe we'll turn to a couple of those. Father, bless now the preaching and follow. In Christ's name, amen.